We all love Freddie, we all love Jason, Pinhead, Michael. How great is it to have like a new, fresh, this generation's horror icon? It rules. So without further ado, let's clown around and bring out the crew of Terrifier. Yeah, see? Get anywhere you like to be, Michael. Oh.
Hello, everybody.
Feel free.
What's up, honkies?
So we have been blessed at Silverstream Con, the first two. I mean, we have, of course, Jenna, and Catherine, and Leah. Are we fans of those three, that trio? Without throwing, without sounding like I'm ungrateful or any of the other great panels we've had, those three together were my favorite panel of Silverstream prior to this year. So we love Terrifier. So we'll just have a little conversation up here, and then this is a packed room, so I'm going to get to the audience questions a little bit earlier than usual, because I know you guys have a lot of stuff you want to ask. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, your origin story. How, when, where, why did you first fall in love with genre films in particular? And at what point did you realize, okay, this isn't just something I love, this is something I need to participate in. I need to create, I want to be part of this.
Yeah, well, it really goes back to my mother being a fan of horror movies and naming me Damien after the Antichrist. Yeah, I was kind of born into this. And she was really cool. She would let me watch pretty much any.
Your middle name's not Thor, is it?
No. But I'm thinking about getting, now that I'm bald, the 666 on the back of my head. Nice tattoo, right? So always watched horror movies, and she was really cool. Even just rated R movies. She would let me watch like just really cool action movies like Commando, Rambo, all these things. RoboCop. She took me to see in the theaters when I was 4. Like really cool movies. And then I pretty much grew up in this mom and pop video store that was like in walking distance from my house. So I'd go there all the time and rent movies just based on how awesome the VHS covers were. And I discovered this VHS called Screen Grades, which is an hour-long documentary on makeup effects artist Tom Savini. And when I saw that, and I saw
Tom Savini fans here? You're speaking the language.
My guy is probably the most influential person in terms of me being a filmmaker. And when I saw that documentary, and I saw that somebody actually creates the monsters, that was a big light bulb moment for me. And I was still very young to really start experimenting, because I've been watching that since I'm like 7, 8 years old. But when I was 12, I actually went to meet him at a horror convention, and it just so happened a vendor was selling starter makeup kits, and another vendor was selling real machetes that were dulled, and they had this semicircle cut out, which is a classic Tom Savini trick. It looks like it's like buried in your neck. And my mother had taken me, and she bought me all this stuff, and I went home, and I just like dove into that makeup kit. I was putting scars on my friends, and making little home movies with this machete, and that was just the beginning of, like, first day of the rest of my life. That's really where it started.
What an insane full circle moment to think about you being at that convention, talking to Tom Savini, and here we are.
And here we are. Can I tell you, the real full circle is he's actually in Terrifier 3 now. He has this little back. Very cool.
And by the way, when you said Commando and Rambo, I could spend the whole day talking about either one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and RoboCop has this kind of crossover where it's an action film, but it has some like full-on splatter and gore.
Super, uber violent. Yeah. So I gravitated toward violence for some reason. I still do in my work. I don't know. It's something very profound, and always as a kid, I was just, even when I was obsessed with playing with G.I. Joes and stuff. So everybody had to stay out of my room. I was in my own
Did you have the USS flag? Were you that kid?
No, I didn't. No.
Everybody always knew the kid, but no one ever was it.
Yeah. But all of my G.I. Joes, I would cover them in red marker or red paint. I was always just putting blood all over my action. So I was just obsessed with gore from a very young age. Yeah.
And this is a great sort of, we have a brief philosophical detour, because there's a lot of young kids who have been coming to Silver Screen, and of course there's different schools of thought about at what age someone should see this or that. And I particularly, personally, think that it comes down to the parents and the kid, and nobody, you should know your children better than anybody else, and it's up to you to decide, what's appropriate and when and where. So, I mean, certainly by the sound of it and by the looks of your career, your mom introducing you to this stuff at a very young age didn't screw you up for the worst. It screwed you up in a great way.
It did, yeah. She trusted that I knew that it was fantasy and I could tell the difference between reality and fiction, which I could. And also, there was like this little experiment going on in my childhood, like a social experiment, because I was the weird kid who would watch all these horror movies. But I grew up with 5 kids the same age. They're still my best friends till this day. We all lived on the same block, houses apart. They weren't allowed to watch the things I watched, but when they'd come over to my house, of course, I'd show them everything that I was watching. So literally, from the time we were 5 years old and I was watching these, they saw everything that I watched all the way up until we all parted ways in our, from like 18 to 25 and went on with our lives. None of them turned out to be psychopaths or serial killers. In fact, they're, court officer, police officer, a fireman, an engineer, So I really don't think these films create maniacs. It's all about if you have a good upbringing.
Yeah, as a weird kid who liked horror and punk and heavy metal and all that kind of stuff, the kids you were supposed to aspire to be when I was growing up were the captains of the football team or whatever. And weird, it's like football players who are concussing themselves or murdering their wives or it doesn't seem to be us. So I'm just saying, there's something to that. Turn over here, and let's start all the way down at the end. We can go one by one. When did you first see a horror film?
Terrifier 2 was my first time seeing a horror film. I didn't watch the first Terrifier before I filmed the second one. I just kind of went into it. Yeah. And then the first time I saw a horror film was the premiere of Terrifier 2.
And do you think that made maybe easier to handle because you could look at the screen and be like, well, I understand how this was made, and I know these people, and I know that person's still alive,
I think it was easier because I knew everyone. I saw behind the scenes and everything like that.
So have you had an era yet where you're revisiting classic horror movies, or are you still not quite there?
Not yet.
Well, welcome to the community. So, we were talking at the airport a few days ago, Thursday night, about how you get recognized without the makeup, without the costume. People just see you and know who you are, and I think it's a lot of it speaks to the coolness of the physicality of your performance and how much you put your body and movements and everything into it. But, I mean, you're doing it right now. And people see you and know, oh, that's Art the Clown without, you know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about that part of being an actor and a performer and how you can convey so much because you're limited to what a lot of some actors have. Right?
It just comes out at times, I guess. I don't even realize it. It's really weird. But I mean, I've always been kind of animated my whole entire life. And I finally realized why that was. I thought it was just because I'd watched a lot of physical comedy growing up, but it's really because I realized this at my cousin's wedding 2 years ago, and I have a deaf aunt, my Aunt Wanda, and she lip reads very well. But so I never really learned too much sign language as I should have, because I was a boy that was distracted by toys all the time instead of being responsible. But so she lip reads very well, and she's very animated, and that's how we interact with her. So everything's very big with the facial expressions, very big with the hand movements and everything. I realized when I was chatting with her at the wedding, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where it all comes from. It's from my and she's hysterical too. I always love to tell people this about her. It's like I've always loved to scare her because doesn't scream like most people. She thinks that she unlike everybody else goes ah or something like that. She learned how to scream from reading Donald Duck comic books. So she doesn't go ah, she goes what? It's the funniest. So I just think about it and she goes what? It's so much fun to do to her. I'm so horrible. She always gets me back somehow. I'll try to be talking to her and she'll just turn off her hearing aid. I cannot hear you. And she'll shut her eyes. I cannot see you now.
And can you tell us a little bit about your origin story in terms of falling in love? You mentioned comedy and physical comedy, and falling in love with movies, and at what point did you realize, okay, I need to put me in, I need to get in this?
Yeah, I was watching all the greats. My parents and grandparents gave me a great education in cinema, especially with the great silent comedians or just comedians in general. I love comedy. That's always been my thing, and I was
Aside from
watching.
me, Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton, Mr. Bean, my other aunt gifted me a whole set of Mr. Bean tapes when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I would just sit there and watch them over and over and over and over and over and over. And I had always wanted to play a character like Mr. Bean, one of those silent mischievous characters. And so when this opportunity came up, because I had seen All Hallows Eve, so I knew that character, and I remember even watching All Hallows Eve before I knew about Terrifier, and I was like, oh my god, what a great character. That's like an evil Mr. Bean. I would love to have an opportunity to play a character like that one day, and then that opportunity came up, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, put me in, coach. So that was, I never thought I would actually be doing art, because I was always a comedy guy. I actually moved to New York City originally to do Broadway. I was a musician before anything else, and I come from a family of musicians. And that's what I want. I want to be on Broadway, and I had been up for about 4, 5, 6 different Broadway tours and final callbacks, and all of them fell through right before Terrifier. And I just chanced upon that audition notice one day, because I was like, I've always wanted to do film work. All I had done is some extra work, maybe some background work. And I was like, I'd really like to get my feet wet in this industry. And I was like, so that audition, I was like, wow, that's a great character. That'd be fun. That'd be a great thing to put on a resume one day. I don't know if anybody's going to see this because of the low budget independent film, but why not? My agent fought me on it, and I'm not with that agent anymore. And I had no idea it was going to change my life. So it's been a fun ride, and I was a little late to the game with horror because my mom was chicken. And she thought The Fall of the House of Usher was the scariest movie she had ever seen in her life. And so we never really watched horror movies in my family. And my dad might watch some of those late night sci-fi movies or something like that, but those were tame. And it wasn't until my senior year in high school when Scream 2 came out, so that kind of dates me. But my cast was going to go see Scream 2, and there was a girl on the cast I had a crush on. She asked if I was going, and I quit cheeking out in front of her. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. Sure, and I had a blast. And I was like, after that, I was like, I was hooked. I was like, I don't know why my mom's so afraid of these movies. These things are so much fun. And so that next year in college, my buddy that I roomed with and stuff like that, we were in high school. He came from very conservative Southern Baptist families, and they didn't watch horror movies either. And we just rebelled, and we would go every single weekend and just rent a whole stack of all the movies for one franchise. And so like one week it'll be all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the next week it'll be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we educated ourselves that way. But like I said, I never met him. I would be here now though. It's been quite a journey.
Oh, it's so amazing. And also welcome to you, sir. Welcome to the world. I was thinking as you were talking about it, whenever Spencer inevitably writes his Broadway show, undoubtedly be in it, so probably.
Oh, that would be great. We even chat. It's like, oh my god, we should totally be on stage together. We sometimes bust out some Les Mis or something like that. Like, it's so beautiful.
So, same question. What caused you to fall in love with movies, TV, and how did you kind of get the bug of wanting to be part of all of this?
Yeah, I was raised by my mom and my grandmom, and when my mom was at work, I would always watch I Love Lucy with her. So Lucille Ball is a huge inspiration to me. Sally Field, God, so many women. But also, I love Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and Michelle Yeoh, and that inspired me to do martial arts. And I've been doing martial arts for about 20 years, and my goal was to be like a Jackie Chan type of character. Like I really wanted to do martial arts in like silly comedy movies like Rush Hour. And I'm still hoping to do that. Like I still train and I still, yeah. But yeah, so ever since then I just like started taking acting in like 2017 and yeah, I don't know. It's just been lucky, I guess. I'm lucky to work with talented artists and yeah. That's it.
My dogs are Lucy and Ethel.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah. No, that's so
Respect.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, just, and the fact that that's a piece of like pop culture history that endures and is timeless.
It's so timeless. Like you can watch it at any point. The fact that she was like the first CEO ever
Yeah.
with her own production company, and what female CEO?
The fact that she produced Star Trek, which
Oh, yeah, that's
people don't
right.
always associate with her, but that was deadly, yeah.
Yeah.
Physical comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know. Anyway, this is the I Love Lucy panel.
No, I love
I can talk about it all day.
Oh no, absolutely. But horror, have always loved. My mom got me into horror. My father got me into horror. My first ever horror film was Poltergeist that I watched, and ever since then I've been terrified of clowns. And it's kind of ironic. This is a franchise I'm part of. Yeah. So yeah, no, I've always loved horror films, The Shining, like everything. So I'm very lucky to be a part of a genre that I literally can watch at any point. I'm always in the mood to watch horror. So I'm just incredibly fortunate.
Absolutely. She really is scared of clowns too.
I really am.
I sneak up on her a lot on set.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's the worst. I kind of wish I had a hearing aid and I could like.
I'm really risking my life too because she would really kick my ass.
A lot of restraint.
Yeah.
So, a lot of restraint.
And that's interesting too, because I know Jenna does Krav Maga. Something her talked about. There's a tradition of
Likes to hire
strong.
badass women. I don't know.
Yeah. I
So
don't hate
it's-
women that much, you know.
And there's got to be some kind of psychology to like the fear of clowns, right? Because that is a legitimate thing.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, coulrophobia is quite, yeah, a lot of people have
What's it
it.
called?
I think it's called coulrophobia.
I didn't know how to name it.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared of the name.
Yeah. I think a lot of it though has to come down to just the white face, the white grease paint makeup on the face. Just taking, it's like why Linda Blair's face is so terrifying with The Exorcist. I don't think clowns that don't have that are as scary as the ones that just have all the white. You know, I think that gets overlooked because I think that's synonymous with death. You know, when the pigment's taken away from your face, that shouldn't be looking at you and smiling. You know.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to convey this theory to Jamie and Paul.
There you go.
Twisted fans in here. So I saw you applaud when she said Poltergeist. So I know you've seen at least one horror movie.
I actually grew up as a horror fan. I mean, the very first horror movie I'd ever seen was House of a Thousand Corpses. There were some scenes where I had to, turn around. I was a young kid. I was like, I don't know.
Have you seen Bill Moseley here, by the way?
Yes, he's the coolest. But yeah, I grew up on horror films. My parents were huge horror fans, and they're like, yo, check this out. And I loved it. There was also some scenes, I remember being a young kid, being really scared. I mean, The Visit is one of my favorite horror films of all time. Yeah, that's a good one, right? But in terms of how I got into Terrifier 2, actually, my dad was scrolling on a website called Actors Access. I was already a huge fan of the first Terrifier, and he's like, wait, Terrifier 2, there's a second one, and then we submitted the audition. It's kind of worked out, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, it is. And in that auditioning process, I mean, how many kids do you look at, for that role? And
Quite a bit, and that was the hardest role to cast because it's a child. They're not, for the most part, not as experienced as an adult, and we're
can't
asking
work
them-
as many hours.
Can't work as many hours, and you can't. I mean, it's an intense role. I mean, physically, mentally, you're asking a child to do a lot of intense stuff. So it was hard. And as soon as we saw him, Elliot was immediately like in the top two, or pretty much one. He was always our favorite. Our big fear was that he was going to be too old, because I originally cast him for a much younger kid. But I was like, man, I love this kid, and he's so good, so charismatic, and amazing energy. But clearly that wasn't an issue. But yeah, so we always wanted to cast Elliot.
Amazing, amazing. And I already know in advance that we're going to have a lot of questions about Terrifier 3. And Silver Screen Con 3 seems like an appropriate place to talk about it. But I would also imagine, it's not quite a Marvel movie. I don't think Kevin Feige has the snipers here like he did for Elvin from Daredevil. But there's only so much we can talk about, though, right?
Part 3?
Yeah.
I'll do my best to give you something interesting.
In case you need to jump over the side of the table and quiet anyone. So we have a microphone here. If you've got a question, which I know you do, go ahead and line up in a nice orderly fashion. And if you can just tell us your name and where you're from, and try to keep it to one question. Because there's a lot of folks in here, and I want to make sure a lot of people get a chance.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Emily. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My question is, I know I asked Amelie and David last month at Still CityCon. I don't know if you're interested to change, but I'm going to ask again. So we all know that art likes to kill people very, theatrically. He loves to really make a wrong statement. So how would you want Art the Clown to kill you? I don't think it's going to be possible because I know you're a badass.
How would I want him to kill me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I would want it to be something crazy. David, it's funny, I forget when, I think it was during the pandemic, but David and I would DM each other talking about just torture methods, just like fun,
Just making small talk.
just small talk, so probably one of those. I can't think of a good one right now, but I'm sure you could. Something just
like something like being force-fed ice cream or something like that. Not like being hung upside down and cut in half. I mean, would it be something I enjoy at least?
I think I want it to be very bloody, and I would want to go down with like a very decent fight. I don't know, maybe some limbs being taken off, or
David, he's plotting.
maybe being fed fingers or something. I don't know.
Finger food.
I don't know, just the worst possible death you could think of. I want to go out with men.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like licked to death by puppies.
Like something.
Good question.
What's up, you guys? Thank you so much for being here. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say quickly. 5 years ago, I had the honor of interviewing you, Damien, and David at Fear NYC, the film convention in New York City. And it's just been so fucking awesome watching this just grow and just your guys' careers and me getting to meet you guys and see you guys grow. It's just an honor, so thank you so much for your work, and I'm so fucking excited for Terrifier 7. And Evil 1 3. I'm so excited for it all.
Thank you so much for all your work. I appreciate that.
My name is Nathaniel. I'm from Manchester, New Hampshire, and I was wondering, for each of you, what is your favorite moment filming any of the 3 films?
There's a difference though between favorite moments of actually filming and favorite scenes. I think the most fun I've ever had, probably the hardest I ever laughed filming was in Terrifier. It was the first one, was Dave riding that little bicycle. At 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were all so delirious, and just seeing him try and ride that and really crashing. I mean, when he crashes, that was real. They put that in the movie. I mean, it was, and he's singing. Because there's a lot of times he'll be speaking like during the action of the film or making noises all the time, and then I just cut out the audio. So he's just riding in circles, singing Queen, bicycle. That was fun. Things like that are fun. It's usually really grueling and stressful, but that was a nice moment. That was fun.
Honestly, for me, I know it's a little bit of a cop-out, but I love the whole experience. Just to be on set and work with very talented, wonderful people, it's honestly a dream come true.
Good luck following that answer. Good luck following that.
I know. He always gives the best answer. But yeah, it's incredibly hard to answer that question. Like they both said, and like how Damien said, there's a difference in like filming and actually seeing. And a lot of my favorite stuff is stuff I'm not even a part of. And there is a moment in Terrifier 3 where Dave and I are looking at each other, and I DM'd you about this moment, and he just looks insane in this moment. And no one has a better view than me, because I'm right in front of him. And I mean, the camera's gonna pick it up, but like, I'm very excited for people, and Damien probably also knows which moment I'm talking about. I'm very excited for people to see that moment. And also just like working with these actors is a dream come true, and like being able to collaborate with Damien, who's so collaborative. It's just, I mean, it's incredibly hard to answer that question. I'm just lucky. I like it all.
Before Terrifier 3, my favorite moment was the Clown Cafe scene. I had so much fun doing that. It's like, nothing prepares you for lighting a person on fire. That is insane to watch happen right before you, but oh my god, I was supposed to do 2 whooshes, and she went up on the first whoosh, and they're like, okay, go, and I'm like, and I'm having to keep that inside, because outside I look like I'm having fun, inside I'm going, whoosh. Building up. But there's a scene in part 3, I'm not going to spoil the scene for you, but I got to work with some actors that I have been a fan of for basically my whole entire life, and it was one of these, especially, they also had a lot of stage experience. So this one actor especially is very well versed in improvisation. And he and I had so much fun working together because he just kept on throwing things to me and we just kept playing. So it was a few days of all of us, these actors I've respected my whole entire life, just playing. And it was just pure magic on set that week. I think that was probably a lot of people's favorite week on set. Part 3, and I never imagined growing up watching these guys that I would actually be an equal with them and just playing. And it was like I forgot in the moment that these were these wow, amazing people, and I'm just like, these are my friends, and I'm just playing with my friends right now, and that's why I got into what I'm doing. It's just like this is pure joy right now, and it kind of hit me on the car ride back to the hotel that night. I almost started crying a little bit. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is amazing. It was just such a fun moment, and I will never forget that.
My favorite scene was the possum scene. I had so much fun doing it with David. We just had a good old time playing around with it, and I didn't realize there was an actual possum carcass until afterwards. So I was like playing around with it, and then my mom told me after. She was like, "You know that was a real possum?" And I was like, "What?" But yeah, that was really fun. And like the guts of the possum were made of like gelatin and strawberry sauce. It was an interesting combination, and I actually had to eat them, and they tasted very interesting. They tasted like, I feel like they tasted what I think crayons would taste. But yeah, that was a super fun scene.
Yeah, there's a lot from that scene that we wouldn't even
I
see.
know, a lot
Yeah.
got cut out, just improv and stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's like a whole probably mini movie of just playing with
I
these
know.
dead possums. I was playing fetch with them. I was playing play dead. It was fun. The puppet show with them.
oh yeah.
Just demented.
Thank you. I just want to mention my favorite scene is the store scene between you two with the glasses.
Oh, that was such a fun scene.
It was a fun scene.
I don't like any of those scenes where Art just messes with people in public.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's such a jerk.
Such an asshole.
He's definitely an asshole. Just wait, there's some great scenes like that in part 3.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ethan. I'm from Manchester, New Hampshire. My question is for all of you. What is your favorite kill in Terrifiers 1 or 2 that isn't the hacksaw scene or the bedroom scene?
Oh, thank you.
And I have to ask because my favorite is in Terrifier 1 when Art just gets so sick of Tara's shit and just shoots her. I think that's super underrated.
Yeah, that was fun. I would say probably mine would be, don't tell Mike Levy this. Oh, shit! I just loved his decapitation. I thought that was just such a fun decapitation. Turning him into a human Pez dispenser was just a lot of fun. I think it was so gruesome too, and I loved it. So that was mine.
I think I have to say a very underrated scene is in Terrifier 2 is Barbara, the Shaw siblings' mom. That was very unexpected. It was just
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, mind-blowing. So I'm gonna go with that.
I would say the same thing as Elliot said. I love that part. I don't know, you don't really see it coming and all of a sudden it's boom. So yeah, that was very underrated.
They're all really good. I always say I really liked Brooke's kill because they used condoms, right? I'm great at that, right? They used condoms for the bubbling on her face.
I did, yeah.
Because it was such a low budget. Like they threw acid on her face.
And you need to be safe.
David was blown into a tube to look like her face was bubbling from the acid, and the bubbling was condoms. And like I was blown away by just the innovativeness of having.
So was Barbara.
So yeah, there's so many good kills, and like just with these practicals, like how can we not appreciate them all?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Brooke kill as well, just because it's very savage, sadistic. But since you already said that, I think I really like the reveal of the cat lady kill in part 1. And just seeing Dave prance around with her body. That was by far the most awkward moment ever in the entire franchise. Because I always said, telling that story, we didn't know what Terrifier wasn't Terrifier when we were shooting the original Terrifier. It was just this weird indie killer clown movie, and there had to be a lot of trust going on. It was easier for part 2 because everybody knew what Terrifier was, but trying to convince Dave to do that, that was a conversation. Originally in the script, he wasn't supposed to be naked. He was wearing her body parts over the clown costume, but as we got closer, I was like, that's not gonna look as cool and as disturbing as if he was naked and bloody. And then this is Dave's first movie, and I call up Dave, and I tell him the idea. I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, I really think it's gonna be a lot more disturbing if you do that. And there's like a little bit of a pause on the phone, and he goes, okay.
Well, I figured, because Catherine was really exposing herself in such a vulnerable way for what was going to be the kill of the movie. We're just like, if she can do that, then I can do this. Because, yeah, it will definitely be really freaky. And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll just gross people out with my tush.
We get a lot of your tush in this franchise.
I'm sorry.
You look great. Thank you all.
Hello, I'm Patrick from Rhode Island. You mentioned someone said something about the old silent comedians. I was just wondering how much influence the old cartoons had. Like, even I think it was Betty Boop, the
Coco the Clown?
yeah, it's just like art, and then so much watching it, I had this idea of like, honestly, watching the Terrifier movies, I laughed harder than I have in any movie in a long time. That might be fucked up in head itself. Just the, how much the old cartoons like Tex Avery, Chuck Jones had on influence on everything, because basically art just reminded me so much of, oh, Wile E. Coyote got the Roadrunner. That's exactly what he would look like when I was sitting there smiling with the blood all over him. Just how much old cartoons had influence.
Well, I'm very much inspired by the silent film actors, horror actors, like Lon Chaney Sr. is one of my favorite, The Phantom and The Hunchback, all those movies. But in terms of your acting, what you bring to it, that's all your personal, Chapman, Buster Keaton, your influences.
Plus, I'm a big Warner Brothers fan too. I'm like, I love that. And I kind of look at it as art as kind of like being Har's version, like of Bugs Bunny. So he's that kind of miserable scamp that's always just trying to one up everybody. And that's one of the takes I took to him and stuff like that. Plus, I'm a huge cartoon freak anyway. I'm like, I love cartoons. Like one of my dream roles would be to reboot the Mask franchise. I would love that. I would like to do like the original comic books of Dark Horse Comics, where it's just dark and bloody and violent. And I think now because of the Deadpool movies, that's something that could actually be done now.
Because the Mask comic, so many people think that Jim Carrey, but in the comic book, it only affected the guy wearing the mask. So when you had like the guy pulling giant machine guns, it's like everyone sees them, lying out with the X's on their eyes. It's like comics, that's just red mist.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's so dark, I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm from Boston. I was just wondering if you had the keys to any established franchise or franchise, what would it be? Would you rather remake it or make it a legacy sequel?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm on record saying I would kill to make Friday the 13th reboot. Yeah.
You know what? I believe I met a guy this weekend who you might want to talk to.
Yeah? Oh, that's right, it is. Yeah.
What's sitting right where you're
Wow, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Jason was always my guy growing up. And he's more violent than some of the other ones, so I think there's some really cool things with his kill scenes. And try and just make it scary, really, really creepy. As if you've never met Jason before, So, who knows, maybe when I'm 70, they'll let me take a crap at it.
And would that be a reboot or would it be a legacy sequel?
No, I'd like to do a reboot. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shelly from Saratoga Springs, New York. I was wondering, so I heard a rumor that you actually got sick while filming the new movie. Is that true? And if it's not, or if it is there any other scenes that were almost too ooh, they can't really do that, or anything?
Well, I want to answer the second question first. Yeah, in part 2, when I was having to dig into Allie's chest and everything, they had all the
Oh, it's Brooke.
Brooks. I mean,
Yeah.
oh God, brain fart. But yeah, Brooks' chest. It was like they had all this different meats and stuff like that in there and ribs. So it was a smorgasbord of textures, and it was really gross and cold in there. And then we had to go eat dinner right afterwards. And I have E. coli and salmonella all over me. And I'm like, oh God, no! And they just leave me there. I'm like, God. But that's where you had to take out a lot of audio because I'm sitting there the whole time going, oh, gross, oh God, God.
That's the real Art the Clown for you.
Wrong. But yeah, in part 3, it is very true. They have this all on video. They just can't release it yet because it's a big spoiler in the movie. But yeah, I didn't throw up. I got very, very close. I was proud of myself. Because I didn't want to ruin my makeup because Heather had spent all these hours just doing my makeup and they're like, okay, let's roll. And I'm like, oh God, no. It's something that it's one of those things that really, it's one of those few things that really grosses me out. And I just feel that Damien deliberately put that in there just really.
I would never.
And they were all waiting for it. They're like, okay, well, it's David gonna spew. And I'm just like, oh God. And the location we're in, it was very hot and warm in there, and there were a lot of odors in there too. And then one of my other co-stars, besides who was not in the scene at that point, besides just come in eating this smelly bag of corn nuts. And it made things worse for me. And they're going, hey, how are you? Go away. Because sometimes I would have some doubles come in for me, like when I'm in makeup, and they need to still film things, so Steve Dalzell would fill in for my arm at times, my leg or something like that. I'm like, can Steve just go in for me right now? They're like, oh, no, Dave, no, your face is right in the shot. I'm like, oh, God, why? But we got it, and you might be able to figure it out because it'll probably gross you guys out too. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite kills in the whole franchise because I think this is just, it's horrific. I've never seen a kill like this ever in a horror film before. Like when you wrote this, I was like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, this is bad. This is just bad. It's not funny, it is gross, it's dirty. And that's what got to me too. I was like, oh my god, imagine this actually happening to a real person. And so, yeah, it's cruel. Yeah, you might have some fun watching the scene too.
They're not all that cruel. There's some fun ones in it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is India. I'm from the UK, and follow up on that girl's question. Because you nearly vomited, does that mean that because Terrifier is about pushing the boundaries from the previous one, does that mean if another film was to come about, you sort of wouldn't do it if it exceeded the boundaries again?
We'll still keep going. I suffer for my art, I guess you could say.
And the question for the entire panel, if that's alright, it's like, because Terrifier does push the boundaries, and even die-hard horror fans don't watch it, it's like, what's the most uncomfortable scene that you've had to film?
Yeah, well, I think it was the, like I said, the cat lady scene, but also the scene where he's interacting with the cat lady, with the baby doll. That was just, it was such an awkward, weird scene. But yeah, there's a few. The franchise is filled with uncomfortable scenes. To shoot, yeah. What do you guys think?
Anything I had to show my butt.
I mean, I think I got it pretty easy. Honestly, the most uncomfortable scene I've ever had was just me falling down. I don't know why. It was just so hard for me to do. But I would say that's it. I got it easy. I know, Lauren.
Yeah, but then there's scenes that are maybe awkward or, intense, and you just don't want to be in that situation. Like for the actor, it's going to be a really intense scene, and everybody's sort of, tense or whatever. But then there's just scenes that the environment is awful. Like when we filmed the entire climax of Terrifier 2 in the Fright Factory, the haunted house, it was like being in a cave for 3 weeks in the middle of the night. I mean, just with no heat, and everybody's getting sick, and everybody's tired, and we didn't really have union rules on that movie, so if we needed to, like there was one day where I was up for like 26 hours, just like back-to-back days shooting. I would just like nap in between takes if I could. So that's really uncomfortable and awful, and that's how it is to shoot these movies a lot of times. So that's not fun.
Yeah. No, that sort of discomfort, yeah, we've all had. But I know what you mean. You mean like discomfort in like the kills are so uncomfortable that
when
you're
Jonathan walked into the dining room and saw Art literally put mashed potatoes in the mother's head.
Yeah, that is really awful. Yeah, that's terrible.
It's amazing, but it's terrible.
It's cool, but it's also like what fun. But yeah, no, I think I'm in the same boat as I can't speak on Terrifier 3 yet, obviously, but for my experience on Terrifier 2, I kind of got it easy. But in terms of what I had to see, I felt like not as much as some of the other actors, like the actors that played like Brooke, Allie, Barb, I think they got it, especially Catherine and Booyah and Dave. So I think I was left out. I can't talk about 3, but I guess I'll talk about.
You know what really got me the most out of all 3 movies was editing the bedroom scene and listening to Casey scream for hours in my ear, and I actually got lightheaded because there was no music, there wasn't anything to make it a movie, and I'm just listening to this woman scream at the top of her lungs, and I literally got lightheaded, and I called Dave, and I was like, man, I think this scene's gonna work.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
She brought up a great point in passing, but I've been thinking about is, I do know a lot of lifelong, Generation X like me, horror fans who love all this horror stuff, who when Terrifier comes up in conversation, they'll say like, oh, I don't do Terrifier.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, is that's gotta be kind of a badge of honor for all of you, right? Like,
It is,
It's
yeah.
too much even for a lot of like a
Sure.
lifelong horror fan.
Yeah, and I get asked a lot, are there boundaries for me? Is there lines I won't cross? And I say yes all the time. Not that I think filmmakers, they should be able to show whatever they want, as long as you're not really harming somebody, obviously. But yeah, like I'll write a scene and I'll usually take it 5 steps further and push it on paper maybe. Like how far can I really take this? And then I get to a point where I'm like, no, I'm gonna really just alienate half the audience. At some point, I'm just going to go into an extreme level of distaste, and it's just not fun anymore. But I like to get right up to the line and just step right over it and show you something that you're not going to get in, your average rated R horror movie. So, but a lot of that just comes to really loving the craft and the artistry of makeup effects and the gore and just pushing it and showing you. It's like people just stop, because of the content or the context. They just stop appreciating what's really going on and the artistry that it takes to freak you out, It's not just like, oh, we're killing somebody. You're really, somebody spent days, weeks sculpting this and then finding out the right place to, put these wires and how you get the blood to spray in a certain way. And, these brilliant artists who come in and paint it to make it look like flesh. I mean, it's not just, hey, let's just kill somebody. There's a lot more going on with these scenes to appreciate and admire.
And it is actually art, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Hey, my name's Richard. I'm from Montreal. There were a few questions I wanted to ask, but obviously a lot of people have very creative and extensive minds, so a lot of them got covered. So I guess, I know you can't really speak much on 3, but it's more of a question related to what made you decide on Christmas as a theme.
Yeah, man, I really think I gotta give credit to that to my partner, my producer Phil Falcone. When we were shooting, I think it was when we were shooting 2, and because 2 we spent years, so every season would fly by as we're shooting this movie. And I think we were driving up to set and it was Christmas, and just in passing, he was like, oh, we should do an Art the Clown Christmas movie. And I always loved Christmas horror, the subgenre. Especially Black Christmas is one of my favorite movies of all time. Especially the Tales from the Crypt episode, the Maniac Santa Claus, and All Through the House. I don't know if you guys. Yeah. So those are the 2 biggest Christmas inspirations for Terrifier 3, tonally. But it was also, I didn't want to just keep repeating the same thing over again and just do another Halloween movie. This puts him in a whole new environment, and now we can play with all these classic Christmas tropes, and putting him in those scenarios is hysterical, and it's also really disturbing. And he's already walking around carrying this huge bag of goodies like Santa, so it's just perfect. It seems so natural. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
There you go. Great question.
I'm Marissa from Massachusetts, and obviously I'm a super fan. One of the things I loved about Terrifier 2 were the interactions between Art and the little pale girl, so I just wanted to ask you, what went into the creation of her character and casting the actress to play her?
Yeah, you look amazing, by the way. Thank you.
So great. Yes, you look so good.
You're a fan? So cool. Well, I knew once I made part 2, I knew I really wanted to explore what the evil was that was resurrecting the boogeyman, because it happens in a lot of franchises, but it's never really explained. They just sort of come back and everybody accepts it. But I was like, that's a big deal that nobody really ever explores. What is that? And I wanted to do it little by little over the course of a few movies. But I wanted there to be some sort of physical embodiment of that evil. And I grew up loving, there's this horror anthology called Spirits of the Dead from the 70s. It's 3 short stories. They're Edgar Allan Poe stories, and one of them was directed by Fellini, famous filmmaker. And there's a devil in it. It's played by a little girl, this creepy little girl in a white dress, and she's pale. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I want to do my version of that character. And originally she was going to look like the pale girl, but she was going to be in this yellow sort of sundress and almost more like a 60s flower kind of getup. And then I think while I was writing it, that Halloween, I started seeing all these pictures on Instagram and stuff of girls doing their version of Art the Clown. And I was like, I gotta do my female version of Art the Clown before it's not mine anymore, before it's totally out of my hands. I'm I gotta grab that. So that's what made me turn her into a little female Art the Clown.
So an ode to the cosplayers, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, yeah.
Hey guys, I know we have a few more people in line, but we only have a couple more minutes. So I think the next 3, or That's gonna have to be it.
I'm Peter from Burlington, Vermont. I'm just curious if the now iconic Art the Clown, like sunflower specs, was that just like a dollar store find, or did you get like a costume designer on that?
Oh my God, that's a no. So I've written, that was like my homage to the scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he goes into the magic shop. So in the script, it wasn't specific. It just said Art goes up to a rack of wacky glasses. Every time Sienna turns around, Art's wearing a new pair of glasses. So I believe we just went on eBay and ordered like a huge box of all these, wacky glasses. And then we decorated the rack, and Dave just went up to them and we just filmed like, I don't know, half an hour of him just putting on every pair of glasses he could find, and then he would have a shtick with each pair of glasses. Like, he would do everything he possibly could to make those glasses come to life. And then when I get in the editing room, it's like I get to choose my favorite ones, and there was just something so striking about him with those yellow glasses. And I was like, this is definitely going to be one of them. I could only pick like 4 or 2 or 3 or whatever. And I just loved that look. He was even taking it farther, like he was giving the peace sign and stuff. I was like, that's too far. Like, maybe I should have put that in there. But yeah, and then it's in it for 2 seconds. You guys absolutely love it, so thank you. That's so cool.
Thanks so much. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Hello.
And so nice to have you guys all here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now that Terrifiers hit iconic level for sure, have any of you guys met any other actors or celebrities that you personally looked up to that has recognized you for your role?
Oh my God, it happens all the time. Literally this weekend, Eli Roth, I was just fanboying out the entire weekend. He's one of my heroes. But it happens all the time because we do so many cons and we admire and grew up with all these people. So we still pinch ourselves every time we're talking to Bill Moseley, Kane Hodder, all those guys. We love them. So it's incredible.
One of my favorites is this is someone I've respected my whole entire life, kind of modeled my career off of, is Doug Jones.
Another very physical performance.
Yeah. Now we've become friends and stuff like that. It's so surreal. That was a big one for me. I always say Doug is like a human being everybody should model themselves after. He was just the sweetest, kindest person. It's like that was such a treat. He'd actually see my work, and I'm like, oh my God, don't get it. That was really cool.
Yeah, it constantly happens. Aside from you guys, which obviously we love doing, like, we get to meet these people that we've been fans of our entire life. Even this weekend, like the Broken Lizard guys, like the YouTubers, we were talking and they were fans. I was like, what? Like I love you guys. So it's absolutely perfect.
Do you want to do repeat?
What's that?
Do you want to do repeat? Do you want to do repeat?
Oh, I see what you're doing.
We're going to test. And I'm so sorry this is going to have to be the last question. Because we do have to wrap up.
Me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Archie. I'm from Wellesley, Massachusetts. And obviously Terrifier has a lot of great kills, but what is your favorite kill from any horror film?
Oh, favorite kill from any horror film? Not outside of Terrifier.
That's such a tough one. Oh my God. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the zombie subgenre. I love Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. So I'm a big fan of the effects in Day of the Dead. I love seeing Captain Rhodes get torn apart. And that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Mine's probably from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 of the Warriors. I love the marionette kill. That is so twisted, especially when you think about all the sinew and the muscle and all the ligaments, everything being torn out. And you're like, oh my God, that's so horrible, but it's so cool to look at too. And what to use it to make it look like suicide. I'm like, that's brilliant. It's such a well done kill. I love it.
I don't know if I can top that one. That Dream Warriors, that kill specifically is so
Yeah.
It's so there's so many good ones. I really love the Evil Dead franchise, and I love the 2013 Evil Dead, and all the practicals in that were amazing. But like one of my favorite parts, it gives me chills every time where she's killing the final boss with the chainsaw. It's just so badass. She's like, eat this motherfucker. I love Final Girls, so it's obviously.
Chainsaws are fun.
Elm Street original Tina.
That's a great one.
Walden Road comedy of it, and it's so terrifying.
Actually, I gotta say, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not really the typical kill scene, I think, but my favorite scene of someone getting devoured is the end of Jaws. It's Quint getting eaten by the shark.
Spielberg said it,
Yeah, huge. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to everyone. It was awesome. And we're on let's get a picture. Can we get the Iron Maiden photo? I like the photo.
Love you guys.
That's the seat.
The Last Supper.
Have a great day.
I don't think I'm even going to leave because we're starting the Welcome to Horror panel in moments.
It's a